Let's continue with the same example. One of the most common use cases of grid is to create equal width columns just like this. Using percentages is one way to do this, but with grid, you can use fractional units for sizing. So this can be replaced with 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR, meaning we want 3 columns with each column taking up one fraction of the space. This is more readable and gives us the same output. See, we have the same output. These values can also be written using the repeat function of CSS like this. Repeat 3 times 1 FR. This function will be useful later when we have more complex values than 1 FR. So for now, for ease of understanding, I'll change this back to 1 FR, 1 FR and 1 FR. The fractional units can be combined with fixed unit values or percentages too. So if we change the last value to 50%, the last column will first be assigned 50% of the total width, and then the remaining space will be divided into 2 equal parts. So this is what we get. If you're familiar with flex, this is similar to setting flex basis of the items to 0 and flex grow to 1. The FR unit helps occupy the remaining space in the grid. And we can easily use values like 1 FR, 2 FR, where the second column occupies twice the width of the first column. And this is what we get. Now there's one more value I'd like to introduce to you in this episode, and it's better explained with a different example. Look at this section here. This is the menu of a fast food restaurant. The moment you look at it now, you know this can be implemented with grid. But unlike our previous example, the columns are neither equal width nor proportional to each other. Hence, it's best to let the content of the cells determine the widths. But how do we do that? Firstly, this is what the section looks like when the elements follow the normal flow. Here's the markup, the item div and the icon div alternating. Let's turn the section into the grid container by adding the rule display grid. And using grid template columns, let's specify how many columns we need and of what width each. So what are the values we can give here? You can use the keyword auto. Specifying auto twice suggests that you need 2 columns with widths decided by the content. Let's see what we have. This is perfect. However, there's just one problem which is not evident yet. Let me comment out the maxed width rule to show you. Now let's see. You would expect these icons to move to the far right of the grid, right? But that doesn't happen. Let's inspect and see what's happening. Click on grid. Until this width, everything is good. But from this screen width onwards, there's more space in the entire grid than needed by both the columns' contents. So the remaining space is added to both the auto columns. This is not the desired behavior. We want the first column to occupy as much space as possible and the second column to occupy just enough space. Luckily, we can do exactly that using the combination of the fractional unit and auto like this. 1 FR and auto. Now this is fixed. Let's revise what we learned here. If you need equal width columns or columns proportional to each other, use only FR units. If you want any 1 or 2 columns to occupy a certain width in pixels or in percentages, you can specify that and use either auto or FR units for the remaining columns. If you need all columns to occupy space depending on the content within, use all auto units. If you want one column to occupy a fixed width and other columns to occupy width based on the content within, you can use fixed width value in combination with auto. And lastly, when the parent's width might be more than the combined width of the column's contents, if you don't want the extra space to be distributed equally, you can just use FR units for those columns that need maximum space instead of auto like we just did in this example. I know, all these can be too much to remember if you're learning grid for the first time, but we will see a lot more examples going forward. So this knowledge gets reinforced each time.